how's it going, guys? Luke is here to talk about Final Fantasy 15. And I haven't made a video in like 3 months or so. And the last video I made was the Final Fantasy 15. And the reason why I was gonna stop YouTube, I really was gonna stop YouTube. I was gonna focus more on school, college, and stuff, and my career, and stop kind of the gaming part of YouTube. Because I just wasn't feeling it. I wasn't feeling the drive to do it anymore and whatnot. I even put up my capture card to sell on Craigslist. It hasn't sold yet, so who knows what's gonna happen. But the thing that made me want to make a video again today was the Final Fantasy 15 special program, the 2-year anniversary event live stream that happened a couple of days ago now. And the reason why I want to make a video of it is because they announced a few things at this event here. They announced a few things. They announced that 3 out of the 4 DLCs have been canceled. Yes, that's right. 3 out of the 4 DLCs for the 2019 Season 2 of Final Fantasy 15 have been canceled. They've been canceled. The dog barking in the background, but I don't care. I don't. That's how vivid I am in this video. I don't care. It's excruciating that this happened. That I only recorded once, and I said, "Oh, it's not a good recording." That was a couple of days ago. I'm gonna record it again, and I'm doing it, and I just don't care now. I want to talk about it. I want to get this out there. I want it shorter, though. I want it, formed better. I want to talk about some different things. They canceled DLC season 2. They canceled it. They're only keeping episode Arden, which is coming out in March of 2019. And I just got one question. What the fuck were they all doing this year? They literally they were working on the fucking Terror Battles crossover with Sarah. They were working on the Final Fantasy 14 crossover that they announced at this event. Why? Why were you guys working on these damn crossovers and not the main game? Like, why were you doing this? Why did you cancel episode Aranea, episode Lunafreya, and episode Noctis? The Final Strike. We really needed episode Aranea, and we really needed episode Lunafreya. Noctis is not needed. If it was I'm pretty sure it's gonna be what happened to him inside the crystal. That would have been epic. A lot of people think it's gonna be the alternate ending. No, I don't think it's that at all. I think it was gonna be him in the crystal, which would have been epic, but not needed at all. It's not needed. What was needed was Aranea, and people saying, "Oh, who cares about Aranea, really?" No, we need Aranea because we didn't see that side of Growlia when the affection of the people turning into the demons broke out. We didn't see that. If we would have saw the fall of the Empire at that point, in that perspective, that would have been great. It would have been shorter. It would have fit perfectly into the main game as well. It would have been great. Now, Freya, let's just say she's needed because she had jack all to do in the main game. She had 0 screen time in the main game, so she's needed for DLC. But nope, fuck her, like fuck that, So it's just like, and not just the DLCs are canceled. The modding tools for Final Fantasy 15 are also canceled. For the PC version, the level editor and all future modding support to add more stuff, that shit's canceled. So everything Final Fantasy 15 is canceled, which is just bizarre to me. It's bizarre why they did this. And you want to know what they also announced that's even worse? Right after this, they peeled off the Band-Aid slowly. They didn't do it fast. They peeled it off slowly throughout this event. Director of Final Fantasy 15 that took over for Tetsuya Nomura in 2012 and fully took over in 2014, Hajime Tabata, has resigned from Square Enix and Luminous Productions and his role in that as the COO of Luminous Productions. resigned. He's gone from the company as of October 31st, 2018. So when this event happened on the 7th, he was already gone from the company. He was gone. What the fuck? What the actual fuck happened here? What happened, Square? You lost your most competent director in Final Fantasy right now. That could get shit done in a timely manner. You lost him. Why? Well, what happened? Was it the $33 million loss you had for Luminous Productions because you guys are stupid enough to give him an entire new studio, which you already had a business division within Square Enix with BD2? Why'd you guys do this? Keep the studio. I don't understand it. Why they lost that much money? They made profit from Final Fantasy 15 day one, from that game day one. All right. So did they lose money within the DLCs? I don't know. Was it the crossovers? I don't think so. I think Ubisoft probably paid them or whatever. I don't know. But it's a funny thing, really. It is. They fired the director of Final Fantasy 15, the guy who saved Final Fantasy 15. I love Tetsuya Nomura. I don't care what people say that if I may hate him. No, I don't. I love him. If I didn't love him, I wouldn't be hyped for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I wouldn't be hyped for Kingdom Hearts 3. I wouldn't have a bunch of Kingdom Hearts games of the same version, buying them multiple times. That's just stupid. I wouldn't have ad with children multiple times. I love Nomura, but he was in development hell for Final Fantasy Versus 13. That is a fact. He was just... his team had to be brought over to help with Final Fantasy 13, I believe, and Final Fantasy 14, and then his team was also working, and he was also working on the yearly Kingdom Hearts games. He was also character designers for other Final Fantasy games. It was a mess. He didn't have time to get things done, and nor was Square going to give him time, because he eventually would have had to do Final Fantasy VII Remake, because he's the only one in the original team that's there that is still a director position. Katase is just on a producer position as of now. So, there you go. There's that. So, Tabata took over, salvaged Final Fantasy 15, and turned it into a playable product from start to finish with a timely based DLC for the first season, for the first year after release, and had a lot of great content, great music, a great story that just needed some fleshing out, which he promised he was going to do. And it was being fleshed out with the DLC, and it didn't happen. I don't know why, but it's canceled now. And you want to know why this shit, like, it bugs me? Is because the Season 1 DLC shouldn't have happened in that form of the Chocobros. That shouldn't have happened. Want to know what should have happened? Season 2 of the DLC, if anything, is more like ardent. Like, so let me lay it out here. If Square Enix wouldn't have kept changing the script every 3 months or so, like Roberto Ferrari was talking about when he was still on the project before Nomura left, they were changing the script every 3 months, which is when Tabata was on the project, because he joined in 2012. If they weren't changing the script every 3 months for Final Fantasy 15. If they would have had a finished product, they would have had one. Day one. There wouldn't have been a need for DLC. But since they like changing shit, and they did not have a finished product ready for out the door. Which is why they were like, well, fuck, we need to do DLC, damn it. We need to do this DLC so we can flesh out the story that we couldn't do. We can flesh out gameplay for the other characters. That shouldn't be needed. It shouldn't be needed at all. And when they made the DLC, they made it like it's an entirely different thing, and it's not accessible from the main game story. When you play the Elder Scrolls V Skyrim's Dawn Guard, you can play that shit in the main game after you beat the main story, before you beat the main story, before you even start it, before, you know, like, and at any time. Same thing goes for the Dragonborn DLC. You can do that at any point in time in Skyrim. That can also be said for Oblivion and probably Morrowind. I didn't play Morrowind. That can also be said for Bloodborne. You can play the old hunters At any point in time in the main game, it's naturally integrated into the main game, to the main story. And that if you play it now, it feels so natural that you didn't even know it's DLC. Really. Same thing goes for Horizon Zero Dawn. You can play the DLC for Horizon Zero Dawn at any point when you get to a certain point that allows you to. And it feels like it's naturally part of the main game. If you didn't know that was a DLC, you would not have known. You see what I'm getting at here? Every game I've played, pretty much, the DLC is not a separate thing. It is its own thing, a part of the main story, as RPGs are concerned. Same thing for Breath of the Wild. So why is Final Fantasy XV broken up into different segments like this? I don't know. Like, the only ones that I can think about, like DMC is an entirely new thing with different scenarios, but that's like with different characters you didn't really see in the actual game so much of. With this is characters you see throughout the whole game, and you could predict what the DLCs were. You could predict what they were when the game came out. It was like, oh, Gladio's gone for this segment. Well, this is going to be his DLC episode. Oh, Prompto fell off the train. This is going to be his DLC episode. Oh, Ignis is blind. Oh, there's his DLC episode. Like, it was so easily predictable what is what that it's annoying. And, you know, if they didn't change anything from 2014, from the 2014 script, they had lines recorded. They would have had re-recorded Noctis's lines because he sounded like fucking Batman. But besides that, the story could have been complete. There's tons of CGI scenes by Visual Works that aren't in the game. There's tons of cutscenes from trailers that aren't in the game. There's tons of concept artwork that never made it into the game. And it's just frustrating. The Dawn trailer, not in the game. The first English voice acted trailer where they introduced, or they didn't introduce, but they show the English voices of Noctis, Prompto, Gladio, and Ignis, not in the game. You know, like when you see all the ships coming in into the sky and they're just driving and they find out, like, what the fuck is this? Not in the game. The scene with Luna with her hair when she first shows it off, not in the game. The Dawn trailer with Regis holding Noctis just recently made it into the game through a patch for, I forgot what it was, but it was like for a fucking millisecond. I think it was the Royal Edition. You know, and Luna being abused as a child didn't make it into the game. Any of this shit from Kingsglaive didn't naturally flow into the game. The stuff they showed off at Kingsglaive was a day one fucking patch. So they didn't explain any of the events of Kingsglaive. Luna had a different clothes from Kingsglaive and different face, and Ravis different face, and like, and the Emperor Idolus wasn't really in the game, or Versatile wasn't in the game, even though he was shown in trailers leading the assault into, like, what happened? What happened? The only character that really carried over that's not a main character from Versus 13 is Aranea. She had the most screen time out of everyone from Versus 13 days. Really, she did. Especially in episode Prompto. So, like, what happened there? And not only is it because of the story changes why this game wasn't complete. Nah, it's not just that. It was the gameplay changes why this game wasn't complete. They couldn't find one single combat thing that they were pleased with. They couldn't. They kept changing it to satisfy fans and not satisfying themselves. And in the end, it didn't create a great action game because it wasn't finished. And it still isn't finished because the physics aren't great. Like, why the fuck did they decide to change the E3 2013 gameplay? It was perfect. Everyone loved it. Everyone lost their shit. It was like Kingdom Hearts on steroids. So why did they change it? Why? It had the best physics. It had the best hit marks. It had, you know, when you hit an enemy in that trailer, it seems like they were actually getting hit. There was best air combos. It had amazing, you know, like animations. It had great everything. Set pieces, platforming, like jumping, grabbing onto things. In the main game, it's so fucking basic. It's so basic. Like, and then there's barely any air combo or air fighting, you know, and it's just like, why? I love the gameplay, it's fun, but why do they make it worse. You know what I mean? When Kingdom Hearts 2 is a 2006 video game, or 2005, if you want to count the Japanese release, is better than a game that was made 11 years later, released 11 years later. What the fuck? Like, why is this a thing? Why is... Like, it's because they changed so much shit in this game. Not just from the story content, but from the gameplay content. And the open world content. You could tell from episode Disguise to the main game, they made it more massive. They added more things to it. And it's like, why? Why change this stuff all the time? Now, changing scripts is a normal thing in film, TV, and video games. That's normal. In pre-production, not when you decided to start shooting already, recording voices, filming scenes, animating scenes, finishing them. There was finished visual work scenes that didn't make it into the game because they changed the script. They released scenes into trailers that didn't make it into the game because they changed the script. You don't do that then. No. There's movie trailers that give some false advertising, but that's just trailer magic to make you not see what's in the actual thing, because they take things out and then they replace it with something else. But they didn't do it with Final Fantasy 15. They just took stuff out. And why? Like, it's frustrating why they did this to Final Fantasy 15. And, you know, Final Fantasy 15 is one of Square Enix's most successful Final Fantasy games in years. It really is, if you don't count A Realm Reborn. So I'm going to go down the list of Final Fantasy games from 2001 to Final Fantasy X and give you the reviews and the sales of them and how it varies and how it's gone up and down throughout the time. So Final Fantasy X released in 2001, and it sold, to this day, it has 8 million sales with a Metacritic score of 92%. And Final Fantasy X-2 came out in 2004, 3 years after Final Fantasy X, and sold 6 million with a Metacritic score of 85%. Final Fantasy XI, which came out in 2002, sold 2.2 million on the down low with a Metacritic score of 85%. And Final Fantasy XII, which came out in 2006, to this day have sold 7.2 million with a Metacritic score of 92%. And the 13 trilogy, which gave us games every other year from 2009, 2011, and 2013, with Final Fantasy 13 selling 7.7 million and got a Metacritic score of 82%. Final Fantasy 13-2 got 3.6 million, a big drop-off with a Metacritic score of 79%, so just a little bit down. And then Lightning Return Final Fantasy 13 dropped even lower with 1.2 million and a Metacritic score of 66%. Now, Final Fantasy 14 A Realm Reborn came out the same year as Lightning Return, so maybe that was why it grabbed some of its sales, because that's an MMO, a lot more appeal. People are getting tired of the 13 trilogy, because the quality just dropped from 13 to 13.2 in some places and rose in some, but people got tired of it, probably. And Realm Reborn sold 10.3 million with a Metacritic score of only 78%. 78%. And Final Fantasy 15 came out in 2016 and to this day sold 8.2 million with a Metacritic score of 81%. So, like, after the fall of 13 and its sequels, Final Fantasy 15 sold great. It sold great. You know, for a mainline single-player game that's what was only at the time on PS4 and Xbox One, while Realm Reborn was on PS3, I think, 360 maybe, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. So it had a lot more outlets. And it's an MMO, so it had a lot more appeal to it than an action Final Fantasy game. Okay, so, like, why did it get this treatment if 15 sold so well and made profit? I don't know. I don't know why this happened, and you know, when you look at games, other open world games like Horizon Zero Dawn, The Witcher 3, Spider-Man for PS4, and you know, it's like, I don't know, the quality in those games are so much higher. It's weird, like, not The Witcher 3. The Witcher 3, the thing I like about it is that all the side content has substance to it. It goes into character development. It goes into building the world. I don't like the open world of The Witcher much. I think it's pretty damn boring to look at and play in, and the combat just sucks in my opinion. But that length of the campaign, and I haven't even got to the DLC. I haven't even beat the game, but I know the DLC is also massive, bridging to a new world, I think, to a new place. And the game is so, it's like, in Red Dead Redemption 2, I hear the main story is 70 hours. And the open world is massive. And it's like what the fuck happened to 50, like, I can't, it's like a nightmare. I don't know why this is it's happening. I really don't, and I want to know why. Top of that, I want to know why you resigned. I want to know why season 2 was canceled. Besides episode Arden, you know, like, if the main game was perfect, if it was not perfect, but if it had all the DLC season 1 stuff in the main game, besides comrades, because that's not really necessary. But if they had stuff explained through the 10-year time jump, that would have been cool as well. Like if you're playing as, you know, Ignis, Gladio, and Prompto during that time for a little bit, and Iris and Core, Arnea, that would have been great. While Noctis was sleeping. If you had that in the game, day 1, would have sold a lot more, would have got a lot better reviews, and then you could have worked on the DLC to give more stuff on like Arden's backstory, Regis's backstory, more in depth on the Kingsglaives, the Kings of Yore, the summons, the astrals. Like, what? Like, why? What? Like, don't you know it would have been better? Don't you know that? I'm sure they know this. This is preschooler knowledge. I'm spitting out right now. They wasted time developing the main story in DLC Season 1 that they didn't continue the game. Like, we have not gotten a sequel to this game, a sequel story to what happens after. All we got in the DLCs was completing the main story still. Like a fucking Telltale game. And even with Season 2, it's still going to be the same damn thing. We got no sequel thing. We got nothing past the main game. We have nothing to see, like, oh, what happened here? Why? What's the Luna and Noctis thing at the end? Not explained. Even with episode Ignis, we got an alternate ending. We're not going to know what that's about now. And it's like, what is their thinking process going through in these events? It's utter shite, if you ask me. Utter shite. They could 15. I mean this when I say this. Final Fantasy 15 has the best world, the best lore, the best characters, the best setting in Final Fantasy, without a doubt, in my opinion. But it's not utilized to its full extent. It's put up in anime and novel prologues and movies, DLCs, that when you play Final Fantasy 15 Royal Edition to this day, it still doesn't feel finished because you have to get out, exit the main game, and do the DLC. And it's frustrating. It is pure frustrating that this happens. That this happened. We still don't have a finished game. Even with episode Arden, we won't have a finished game because they're not going to put the DLCs into the main game. They aren't. Because they canceled production on Final Fantasy 15. And fuck you, Square Enix, for that. Seriously, fuck you. You couldn't have waited to finish it. It's like your new game's gonna come out for another 7 years. Why not do this that you fucking promised us without Tabata? Because Tabata has already been taken over for the DLCs in Season 1. Like, what? Like, why did you fucking... There's no logical reason why you fucking canceled this. It makes sense if you canceled Luminous Productions and you canceled their new IP, but you canceled this and you kept the new IP. Why? That doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. I'm questioning your thought process here, Square Enix. I really am, because it profounds me that you're doing this. What makes even less sense to me is Tabata leaving. I don't think he quit. I think he got fucking fired. I think he got terminated because he spoke out against Square Enix so much, saying we need to fix this game for their fans. We fucked up. You fucked up. You did so much shit to me. And then Square Enix probably got tired of his bullshit of speaking out against him privately. And did this. They fired him. They didn't give a shit about Season 2. They would have canceled episode Arden, but they said since episode Arden is so far into production, it didn't make sense to cancel it. So if it wasn't far in production, we wouldn't have gotten episode Arden. We wouldn't have. Like, what the fuck? Seriously. Like, you know, and it's like, Tabata was my favorite director at Square Enix because he made my favorite Final Fantasy games. He made Final Fantasy VII Crisis Core and Final Fantasy Type 0, which are my favorite. They go back and forth to being my favorite Final Fantasy games. I prefer Crisis Core over the original 7 because it had better writing, had better villains, and you know, it's just a better story. And now he's gone. He did great with Final Fantasy 15. I couldn't wait what he was going to do for his new IP. Like, he gave so much original stuff to 15 that's not in Versus. That seemed more interesting than what was going to happen in Versus. But he still added the Versus content to move it in together and seem natural. Like, the stuff I'm seeing in episode Arden with the Somnus and the backstory there, it's just so fascinating. Like, maybe that stuff had to do with Versus that we never saw because Arden was introduced at 2013 when he became 15, I think. I don't think he was in the 2011 trailer. But yeah, man, like, a lot of it is interesting what they're doing with the Astrals in this, you know, and the not like the whole Etro or any of that shit from the Fabula Nova Crystal, all this stuff, or any of the Sea. I'm happy that's not in the game. So what they're doing, what they had in here was great and interesting. And it was never fully utilized. We're never going to see it. Well, this episode Arden shows it, but like, and people were turning into demons and stuff and doing it. That's like straight out of like Final Fantasy 7. It really is. And I like this game so much because it is a road trip. It is a pilgrimage. You're going on a pilgrimage with your friends to get the summons, to get power, to defeat the big bad, to get revenge. And you know what? This sounds a lot like fucking Final Fantasy X to me. My first Final Fantasy game. This is why I like Final Fantasy 15 so much. Final Fantasy X was my favorite Final Fantasy game, and I go back and forth on hating it and loving it for different reasons. But Final Fantasy X was my first Final Fantasy game, unless you count Kingdom Hearts. I don't. It's a spin-off, but it's its own series with Final Fantasy characters in it. But nonetheless, Final Fantasy X was my first true Final Fantasy game. And this is so much like Final Fantasy X. In Final Fantasy X, you are going on a pilgrimage. You are going on a mission. You are collecting these aeons. You are going through trials to collect them. And then a plot twist happens. You're like, oh shit, we need the true village attentions are here. We need to stop him instead. And, you know, we need to change what we're doing. And, you know, there's sacrifices. There's everything like that. And gosh, like 10 and 15 are so similar. It amazes me when people say Final Fantasy 15 is not a real Final Fantasy game because there's cars. 7 had a car. 8 had a car. 10 had car-ish things, vehicles, motorized vehicles. So what the fuck? That doesn't make sense to me. Grand Theft Auto Final Fantasy, even though it's nothing like Grand Theft Auto. It's not anything fucking like Grand Theft Auto. You know, and I don't know. It's weird to me that people hate on it for that reason. Like, really? Because there's a car? You fucking 7 had highways and cars. 8 had, you know, roads and cars. What's so different from cars and airships? Like, really. You know, and I don't know. And it's getting 30 minutes long, and I just wanted to say, like, man, Tabata, I hope you do great on your endeavors that you're doing. I can't wait to see your new game. I hope it's in the vein of Type 0, but with combat as good as, like, the 2013 Final Fantasy 13. You know, have it be great like that, and have it feel the open worldness of God of War or Shadow of the Tomb Raider, you know, but not fully open world, but like make it feel like open world, like a Bloodborne or a Dark Souls, where things connect and go back, but it's a linear story, you know. I'd love that. I don't know about anyone else, but I'd love that. I can't wait for your new game, whenever that is in 2030. I don't know how he has the money to form his own studio. I don't know how much he got for being producer on 15, the universe of it, and being the director. But I don't think it was a lot. Like, game developers don't make a lot of money, so I don't know how he's gonna do that. I know Kojima is Sony helped him out on that. Maybe PlayStation is gonna help him out on that. I don't know, but he likes PC, so I don't know. Maybe Nvidia. I don't know. I don't know. So I'm gonna leave it off on that. That's just my thoughts and opinions and perspective on all this. Like, this is depressing. When I first saw the live stream, I couldn't sleep through the night. Kept waking up. I'm like, when the fuck am I gonna wake up through this nightmare? And yeah, it's still kind of sinking in that Final Fantasy 15 got canceled. It got fucking canceled. Like, it's like, it feels like how Telltale got shut down and canceled The Walking Dead and canceled The Wolf Among Us. It feels like that. Even though employees didn't get, you know, fired or anything besides Tabata. It kind of feels like that. It feels like when Lucifer didn't get picked up for season 4. And then Netflix picked it up and saved it. But this isn't... There's no saving this. There's no saving this. Square Enix owns this, and they're not going to go back to it. They just... Unless Episode Ardent sells fucking amazing, and it sells 7 million copies that have as much people as they have the game buy that, they're not going to continue. You know, and it's like, unless a bunch of people buy the PC edition, unless a bunch of people buy the Royal edition, they're not going to continue production on this. Unless they see a profit somewhere, they are not going to continue production of Final Fantasy 15 ever again. And that sucks. We're not getting a sequel to Final Fantasy 15, which blows my mind. That we're not getting a sequel, and they rather focused on a new IP without a fucking director now. Like, I don't know. It's fucking stupid. See you guys later.